place to be, where art, life, and spirituality connects you and me. Science of mind and spirit, the foundation we teach and live. Love, joy, and belonging are the gifts we have to give. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one life, one mind, one infinite, eternal, self-existent. 'Cause we pause, embodying all that we are. We shine like a glorious star. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one. Spirituality is our way of life. We value laughter, truth, and justice. We express artistry as our living practice. So come and join us at SIA. Know you found a community that will love you every day.
Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message.
SIA is the place to be. So buckle up, we're making history. And if you are willing, repeat after me. I am love. I am love. it right. One more time. I am love. I am joy. I am divine. Amen. Yes, you are. Amen. Yes, you are. Now today's message begins.
It'd be helpful if I turn the mic on. So, we are already at the end of March, huh? Are you ready? Are you sure? What if? What if being a possibilitarian was the thing that changes the world and creates a world that works for all? What if your ability to be a possibilitarian is the thing that changes the world? And I know you're already wondering, what does that mean? Possibilitarian. Did you say reptilian? Amphibian. What did you say? Well, this week we are going to imagine and embody a world where every person is beloved. Every person is a necessary expression of one spirit. Everyone is a divine expression of joy. Everyone cooperates and communicates and collaborates in sacred and healing ways. No limits. No limits to what we are going to imagine and embody. None. Just this infinite possibility of God, joy, love in action. And from there, we're going to take on our new roles and responsibilities as a possibilitarian. Possibilitarian. One who dwells in infinite possibility. Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. Breathe. And simply be in the space of what it means to be a person who lives, moves, and has your beingness in the world, in life itself, in grand, powerful, life-affirming ways, life-affirming possibilities. Just imagine. Just envision it. Feel into it. And then from that space of crafting our imagination and this, what is the idea of how we can now realize and materialize this expression? How can we live this experience? How can we manifest this experience? How do we envision and create a world that works for all? Breathe. Possibility. If I asked you, what does this word mean? What will you tell me? Possibility means a thing that may happen or may be the case. The state or fact of being likely. I don't like when they use the word, the root word is part of the word, but likely or possible. A likelihood. A thing that may be chosen or done out of several other possible alternatives or choices. Synonyms: chance, likelihood, probability, hope, risk, and potentiality. Okay. So as we continue our conversation about this, I don't want us to get pigeonholed or myopic about this whole concept of possibility, okay? Because for me, it's a trifecta. For me, it's a trinity. So how do we step into the space of the trinity? Possibility, probability, inevitability. You with me so far? Okay, so possibility. Ask yourself, well, how likely is something to occur or happen? Well, that's going to vary based upon the thing. If I take this ink pen and hold it up, how likely, how much of a possibility is it that this is going to go up instead of down? Is zero. There is no way it's going to do that. Okay, what about if I open my, what's the likelihood, how possible is it that it'll go down instead of up? Well, that's 100%. Okay, so the possibility of something can vary based upon various criteria. To increase the likelihood, probability is a greater, right? How likely is something to probably happen? Well, jumps up to like 75% of it. It's very probable. Well, if we continue this math, how likely is something to be inevitable? Like if it's inevitable, me opening my finger and gravity pulling this is inevitable. That's 100%. It's 100%. Tracy eating a banana salad and banana pudding and a banana milkshake. How likely is that? The possibility of that is zero. It is inevitable, 100%, that Tracy will say, no, get that out of my face. Why would you bring that into my house? Get out and take it with you. That is inevitable. Right? So you get how the math be mathin'. So as a possibilitarian, we are dancing between what's possible, what's probable, and what's inevitable. But in order to get there, we have to stop poo-pooing on possibility. There's a recording that goes on in, I'm pretty sure, a vast majority of our minds, moment by moment, that tells us that's not possible. Ending war, that's not possible. Feeding the 5,000, that's not possible. Space travel, that's not possible. Reverend Ray actually having a sense of humor, that's not okay. Right. We get into this. In order to truly be a possibilitarian, we have to shift this whole paradigm, get rid of, and realize not only is something a possibility, but you are possibility itself. And not just that, but you are infinite possibility. Think about all of the things that have impacted you genetically, intellectually, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, socially, all of these things that have made you you. Of all of these possibilities, there's now you. You are infinite possibility itself, infinite possibility expressing itself as only you can be expressed. Let's keep going. Yes, sir. You got a question for me? How likely? How likely is what? Oh, how likely is it that young Stevie here will win the Florida Powerball if he doesn't play the Powerball? It's zero. What's the evidence? Can we prove it? Yes. Okay. How likely is it that he will win if he does play? Well, we've got to look and say the stats. Based upon these numbers, he has a 1 in 10 million chance. Is it possible? Yes. It's possible. Is it likely? It's not likely. Is it probable? No. Is it inevitable? Nope. But it is possible. Yes. Do we have evidence to support that? Yes. Can we prove that it is in fact possible? Yes. Okay, so once again, let's keep following. What do they say? Follow the money. We're going to follow the math. Believing something is possible while not acting on that belief offers us great insights into what may actually be motivating us to remain trapped in an undesired experience. I may believe peace is possible, but I myself will not do what I can do to manifest it. It is too painful, so I stand back and wait for someone else to do it. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for a second, let that sink in. Believing that something is possible while not act. New Year's resolutions. I believe that beginning in the new year, it is possible for me to engage in a different program of eating and exercise, thereby achieving the physique that I desire. Boop, Happy New Year. Ray, you going to the gym? No. You changing the way you eat? No. But I thought, no, I said. Believing something is possible while not acting on that belief, once again, offers us an insight into what is actually motivating me. And what we find, once again, is often it is too painful. We don't act many times because either we're privileged, apathetic, indifferent, negligent, fear-based, unavailable, or lackadaisical. Now, this is not an all-encompassing illustration of why we may not be acting, but it's a good starting place to identify, am I not doing something to help change, to help evolve, to help heal because of any of these, it's too painful for me? Yes, Stevie. You have another. Okay, how likely is what this time? How likely is equity, justice? How likely is it? What would be required for there to be true justice and equity, a world that works for all? Do we have any evidence of it? And can we prove it? Because if we have no evidence and we can't prove it, then what is it? Let's see. A box. Actually, let me get one that's darker so you can see it. A box that opens. I don't want you to see what's inside because I don't want you to know if there's anything inside yet. There's a box. How likely is it that there is something in it? 50-50? Okay. Is there evidence? Well, I mean, I would say yes. Can I prove it? Yes. Okay. How likely is it that we will get to a place where we embrace equality? Well, we have evidence of it. There are places where it is already occurring. There are people who are already demonstrating humans are the same. We are one. We are love. There are already people in places that are demonstrating effective justice and equity. Okay, we have evidence and we can prove it. Then what we need to do is replicate it and increase it so that it encompasses the planet. Okay. I mean, you make it sound so simple. It is simple. It may not be as easy, but it is very simple. All things are possible to God, provided they remain true to the nature of God. And that which is untrue to the nature of God has no existence. There is no division between the big and the little. Nothing is an outcast in the kingdom of good. There is a power in us right now. If we could unshackle it, which is the same power that swings the planets in space and holds them there, if we could unshackle it, we would recognize, realize, and embody this power. As a divine expression of God, what is possible for me to create, to manifest? How many of us are willing to actually engage in that exploration to even possibly have an answer? Possibilitarian is a person who adopts an optimistic, open-minded, and creative mindset, where they focus on opportunities and potential solutions rather than all of the reasons why something will not work, all of the limitations, all of the roadblocks, all of the that's impossible, that'll never happen situations. This approach involves maintaining a belief, regardless of how challenging or dark circumstances may seem. There are always possibilities, alternative pathways, different choices, and various ways of moving forward, evolving, healing, growing. In fact, there's a story about a little girl. Just two movies. Oh man. Y'all know that little, what is that little girl? There was a little girl, and there's two different versions of it. The little girl, oh man. Pollyanna. Oh, you already knew. So if you already knew, why? Anyway, Pollyanna, and a later Disney version, Polly. We even have a phrase when we call someone, why are you being a Pollyanna? That's another way of saying, oh, you're a possibilitarian. Okay. So what's wrong with that? Being a Pollyanna means to never stop looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. In other words, to see the way God sees, quote unquote. Not as an anthropomorphic, but linguistic convenience. We see the world through and as infinite possibilities. To be a possibilitarian. That's what this means. Breathe. And one of the ways that Pollyanna gave us a practice was by way of the glad game. Are you familiar with the glad game? No? Stay tuned. We'll get to it in a minute. But keep it in mind, the glad game. Say it with me. The glad game. Cool. There is nothing to concentrate on. The very act of trying to concentrate will destroy the very possibility of demonstrating. There's an old Chinese proverb, I think Hu Neng said it. When you seek it, you cannot find it. Where are my keys? Where are my keys? Matter of fact, where are my glasses? Have you ever done that? Where are my glasses? I just had my They're on my head. Okay. When you concentrate so much, you block the flow. And as Dr. Holmes said, the very act of trying to concentrate will destroy the very possibility of demonstrating. But calmly and persistently, even though it may be mechanically, you speak the word, and there is a certain amount of power. And gradually, you will be able to feel the form of this word as the letter of the law, flesh, makes it become, boom, it's a real thing. Starts off as an idea, as a mental, as a word, as a concept, as an emotion. And now it's an actual thing. But at first, if you cannot do it any other way, just do it mechanically. You know, like the 5 steps of treatment, RURTR. Say them in order the way it is. If that's what you need to do, then start there. Say it over and over again. And put as much of the emotion and feeling and spirit into your word as you can possibly put into it. Feel it and believe what you are saying. Convince yourself over and over and over again. That's one way that we increase the likelihood of turning a possibility into an inevitability. So many of you may already know or remember that last year, Tracy and I were in a car accident. So we're going to play the glad game using car accident as the subject. Those who are more pessimistic would say, oh man, the car is totaled. A possibilitarian, one who is skilled with the glad game, would say, and the occupants are safe. But the car can't drive, but the occupants are uninjured and they can walk. But they're healthy, but they're alive. The glad game is saying, yes, this happened. Can I identify something good? Not saying the accident is good, but is there good in there? That's the game. How do we identify things to be grateful for, or things to be glad about, even in the darkest of situations. This is not an invitation for spiritual bypass, spiritual negligence, metaphysical malpractice, or metaphysical malfeasance. Pause. Do you even know the difference between those? We may have to go through that at some later time, but simply know that this is not an opportunity to go to any of those parties. It's not. A religious scientist is a practical idealist, not a dreamer. Thought swings from contemplation into action, from prayer into performance, prayer into action, prayer into activity. And this is according to Dr. Holmes. Breathe. Since God is infinite, the possibility of each person's expansion is also infinite. Therefore, evolution or unfoldment is the eternal process through which being passes into becoming. This does not make the human being the allness of that which God is, nor does the human being create that which God is. But each person at any and every level of consciousness is, at such a level, a manifestation of the original mind. We are incarnations of the original mind. We are divine expressions of Source. Just as a drop of water is in the ocean and it is essence, and in its essence is like the ocean, but still never is the whole of the ocean, so too are we, the people, in God and as God. We partake of the nature of God. In essence, we are one with God, but we are never the totality of all that God is. We could never become the wholeness of all that God is, for then the possibilities would be exhausted. The infinite would be finite, which by definition is an impossibility. To make God anything less than what it is, impossibility. So once again, you are infinite possibility itself. So if I were to ask you, identify something going on in the world and apply the glad game to it, do you have something? But this administration, yes. But what can you, well, more people are gathering in solidarity to actually fight corruption and sexual assaults and all of the other corrupt money, corrupt dark money, all those things. Those are good things. Okay, cool. What else? People are beginning to create greater ways of maintaining sustainable health care for people versus the way the system currently operates. Okay, cool. What else? The glad game. What do I have in my life, even with all the stuff going on? What do I have to be glad about? What do I have to be grateful for? No matter what's going on, can I find something to be glad about? Something to be grateful for? The science of mind. Well, what becomes possible, probable, and inevitable for us individually and collectively when we understand and live as the truth of who and what we are. When we understand who and what we are, what then becomes possible, probable, and inevitable. Well, this is a perfect time to introduce you to a slight additional shift in our evolution as a spiritual community. Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 offers us a way to study, integrate, and apply this truth. SIA, the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, where we study, integrate, and apply Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0. And in doing so, what now becomes possible, probable, and inevitable? What is something I am glad about, grateful for, regarding a health condition? What is something I am glad about? Me, Ray. I'm glad that my primary care physician noticed that my PSA levels were elevated, and I'm glad she referred me to a urologist. I'm grateful that the urologist also did their due diligence and identified that my prostate, yes, there's cancer, and that they had an effective method of dealing with it, whereby I am glad and grateful to still be alive. I am glad and grateful to be cancer-free. I am glad and grateful that even though I had to go through the surgery and I was a royal pain in the ass for Tracy, or to Tracy, regarding the whole, because I yelled at her at times and I'm just trying to stay alive. And like there was a lot, because I was dealing with a lot. But I am glad and I am grateful that Tracy had compassion, even though there are times when, okay, that's a different conversation. But Tracy was like, ooh, let me just breathe, because he doesn't mean, and and keep making this smoothie, keep doing the stuff. And so I'm grateful and glad that even in the midst of all of that, Tracy maintained, and she rode through the storm and came out the other side. I'm glad and grateful, so that even though this thing that I would much rather had not gone through, right? Like when we go for long drives, I don't particularly celebrate having to wear Depends. I don't like it. I don't. But I'm glad that I'm not wearing a catheter. I'm glad that there is still an option that, it could have been worse. And, yes. So I'm glad that I am healthy and I am well. Period. Full stop. Healthy and well. I am grateful for my medical team. I'm grateful. Even in the midst of. How much life, abundance, goodness, truth, and beauty can we mentally entertain? This is the measure of our possible experience. This is the mold of acceptance. The infinite fills all molds and flows forever into new and greater ones. It is the unborn possibility of limitless experience. We give birth to it. How much life, abundance, goodness, truth, and beauty can you mentally entertain? Because the amount of it that you can entertain is the amount of what is possible for you to experience. How big is your container, or how many containers do you have? To what degree, what is the mold? To what degree, what is the amount of all of those things can you hold? One of my favorite stories from the Bible is about the widow and the oil. If you're not familiar with the story, I suggest or recommend, I invite you to go read 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Because it's very interesting that she had enough oil to continue to pour and fill all these containers. And when she reached the last one, that's when the oil ran out. She no longer had something to hold the oil, so there was no more oil to be given. To what degree are we ready, willing, and able to hold the awareness of our infinite nature? Are we busy drinking from our cup that's just a couple of drops? I actually dropped something. Yeah, I know Tracy going to say something. Did you actually just drip on the floor? Yes, I did. And I'm getting ready to get it up right now and put a paper towel down right now. But the point being, or are we drinking from our saucer because our cup runneth over? Does your cup runneth over with beauty and health, joy? Or is your cup almost empty of? People often become what they believe themselves to be. If I keep on saying to myself that I cannot do a certain thing, it is possible that I may end by really becoming incapable of doing it. But on the contrary, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning. Do you tell yourself that you can't, that you won't, that we won't? We will never get rid of war. Human beings, we will never end racism because human beings, we will never. Do we keep telling ourselves what we cannot do, what could not happen? Or do we step into the possibility of, well, what if we were to say, I can, we can, there can? Then what transforms for us? Just by engaging in the conversation, what are we now transforming into? Because we're either transforming into non-life affirming individuals who do not believe in possibility and healing and joy and all this stuff, or we are transforming into, in essence, the very thing we believe is possible. I believe peace is possible. I transform into it. I believe power is possible, true power, not what they call power. True power, I transform into it. Just as Clark Kent transforms into, just as Diana Prince transforms into, right? We transform into, and the funny thing is, we're transforming into the truth of what we are. Hope is a passion for the possible. When you are hoping, you are passionate about what is possible. And the acronym that I created a couple years ago for hope, how our power expresses. When we show up in the space of how our power expresses, we are now passionate about how that power and possibility demonstrate. So as we've been saying the last couple of weeks, care of Bell Hooks, imagination is one of the most powerful tools for liberation. Well, Neville Goddard also says something of imagination. Imagination and faith are the secrets of creation. Then that explains why Bell Hooks said most powerful tools for liberation. Because these are the things, the foundation upon which creation is built, liberation is created based upon. So once again, how are we using or accessing or stewarding our imagination and faith. And when we really step into it, I mean, really embody it, as Edison said, if we all did the things we are truly and really capable of doing, we would astound. We would literally amaze and astound ourselves. Breathe. Because so I don't know, did you by any chance watch the Olympics? Okay, so let me, because I want to make sure I give you the right name. So there was an athlete by the name of Eileen Gu. I may be mispronouncing that, so forgive me if I am. And she was being interviewed, and the interviewer asked, like, basically, can you invite us into your mind? Like, how do you think? Do you think before you speak? Like, what is that process? Because it's amazing. And one of the things Eileen goes on to say is, the person she is now would have amazed her younger self. Her younger self would look at her older self and be in absolute awe and wonder. Like, oh my goodness, look at her. And how amazing is it to recognize that we can be and become something and someone that we astound ourselves. That we engage in practices and processes where we amaze ourselves at our own beauty and creativity and humor and ways of being. Where we entertain ourselves. We applaud ourselves and praise ourselves and honor ourselves and celebrate ourselves. Because we are doing, moment by moment, more and more of what we are truly capable of doing. Without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. Okay. So here's this little boy, Charlie, who was dreaming about visiting the chocolate factory. How possible, how probable, how inevitable. Well, one thing after another before another, but that's a different conversation. But if you look closely at the golden ticket that Charlie did eventually get, the bottom says, in your wildest dreams, you cannot imagine the marvelous surprises that await you. In your wildest dreams, you cannot imagine the marvelous surprises that await you when you know who and what you are as a divine expression of source, of the all that is. Because when we do that, we, like Emily Dickinson, we stand, affirm, and declare, I dwell in possibility because I am infinite possibility itself. Which then means, as a result, it changes and impacts others. Charlie got the golden ticket. Charlie takes the ticket home and tells Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe's like, I'm going with you. I haven't walked in years, but I'm going with you. Then they do their whole dance number and sing and whatnot. And then Uncle Joe is up and around. And one of the things that Uncle Joe sings, I never thought my life could be anything but catastrophe, but suddenly I begin to see a bit of good luck for me, 'cause I've got a golden ticket. I never had a chance to shine, never a happy song to sing, but suddenly half the world is mine What an amazing thing, because I've got a golden ticket. I never thought I'd see the day when I would face the world and say, good morning, look at the sun. I never thought that I would be slap in the lap of luxury, because I'd have said it couldn't be done, but it can be done. A world that works for all? I never thought I'd see the day. I never thought my life could be. It couldn't be done. Oh, but it can be done. It can. And as Willy Wonka told Charlie, don't forget what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted. What happened? He lived happily ever after. When we get a world that works for all as our experience, we have the opportunity to truly live happily ever after. Does that mean there will never be conflict? No, but it means we will have healthier ways of addressing conflict, of healing conflict. Does it mean there will never ever be trauma ever again? No, it means we have healthier and more effective ways of identifying and addressing trauma. That's what it means. A world that works for all does not necessarily mean there will never ever be another house fire, that someone's pets or cats or dogs will never die. Doesn't mean that. That there will never be grief. Doesn't mean that. It means there will be more effective and healthier ways of addressing grief and trauma and pain and tragedy, while also reducing the likelihood of harm that occurs from earthquakes or hurricanes, etc. Breathe. To actively embody and engage the Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 as a way of life is to consciously move through life in such a way that you mindfully and consciously curate your mental equivalence. As Dr. Holmes said, to be a religious scientist is to be a practical idealist, which means we effectively apply spiritual principles to all of life's situations. Just as we breathe, no matter what's going on in the news, no matter what's going on in a hospital room, no matter what's going on in a funeral home or in a Zoom room, we breathe. Moment by moment, breath by breath, thought by thought, and word by word, we live as prayer, which means we are always treating and moving our feet in all ways and always. Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first. And if it resonates with you, I invite you to repeat it with me the second time. I live as a metaphysical mathematician, and my mastery of life always equals amazing manifestations of possibilities. Together. I live as a metaphysical mathematician, and my mastery of life always equals amazing manifestations of possibilities. And so it is. This week's Thursday night study group questions or your own personal journal reflections. What changes in my life when I adopt the practice of being a practical idealist? What is an area of my life today that I could play the glad game? In what ways would being a possibilitarian impact and change my life? What amount of life, abundance, goodness, truth, and beauty am I currently entertaining mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, socially, and physically? And lastly, what do I believe myself to be that I am becoming? In what ways do I limit myself and my becoming? Breathe as we enter into that space. Oh, I'm jumping ahead. We still got another practice to go, people. We still got another practice. I'm getting ready to jump into prayer. Have a conversation about the difference between a pessimist, an optimist, an idealist, and a dreamer. Sorry, Reverend Ray is so silly. A dreamer and a possibilitarian, and give examples of how each might view a particular real life situation. So pick something that's going on, something, real life situation, whether it's in your life, in the news, but pick a real life situation. How might a pessimist look at this? What are things they would say? What about an optimist, etc.? Okay. Now we enter into that space of prayer, simply entering into the atmosphere of what it means to be enveloped by, surrounded by, to be imbued with, to be the very demonstration of infinite possibilities as the universe is expressing itself in, through, and as each and every one of us and all that is. And simply being and breathing into that awareness that I am infinite possibilities. And how I live, move, and have my beingness moves possibilities into probabilities and moves probabilities into inevitabilities. So I get to choose how inevitable is peace in my life, joy in my life, laughter in my life. Even with all that is going on, to what degree am I at least mentally entertaining, imagining, and faithing that which I choose, that which I desire to experience? Because I cannot experience something that I am not imagining and thinking and praying and holding in faith. So it begins there. And from there, it moves into my other mental equivalents, including how I show up, how we all show up as imagination acting as habits and behaviors, faith acting as habit and behaviors, prayer acting as habit and behaviors, to such a degree that when others look at any of us, what they see, wow, a possibilitarian, even if they do not have the words for it. They recognize that we live in the consciousness of being a practical idealist, being one who knows who and what they are as a divine expression of God right here and right now. And so we breathe knowing that the law receives it all and acts accordingly, that prayer is the way that we show up and live, and that our amen is made visible by how we live. So we breathe and allow this prayer, this treatment, this awareness, this consciousness to be all that we are and all that we do. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love, appreciation. As always, have an amazing week. And I mean amazing. Come on now, amazing. My birthday was the other day. You know, I'm 60 now. I'm 60 years old now. So if anybody's no, seriously, go out, have an amazing week. Do what you can do to love up on yourself. Fill your environment with how much you mean to the universe, to yourself, and enjoy. And until next week, see you soon. Blessings and love.